Welcome to Lesson 7.3 to conduct logging, monitoring, and data loss prevention activities. In your Candidate Information Bulletin, we are in the Security Operations domain. We are in Key Area of Knowledge C, which is conduct logging and monitoring activities. Our topics are going to include log sources, log management, SIEM solutions, data loss controls, DLP tools and technologies, and NIST resources. Now in Lesson 6, we talked about logs from a perspective of testing and examination. In this lesson, we're going to be talking about logs and then DLP, data loss prevention, from a security operations perspective. So a reminder that a log is a record of events occurring within an operating system, a service, a system process, an application, or a device. Logs are composed of log entries, and each entry contains information related to a specific event. Routine log analysis is beneficial for identifying security instances, policy violations, fraudulent activity, and a whole host of operational problems. Logs are also useful. Matter of fact, they're necessary when performing auditing and forensic analysis, supporting internal investigations, establishing baselines, and identifying operational trends and long-term baselines. I can't stress how important logs are for doing incident investigation. They are an extremely important piece of evidence. So most devices on a network record events in a log, but it's really impractical to store and evaluate every event from every device. So you need to look at what are your critical log sources. And critical log sources would include firewall, so you can be capturing and evaluating traffic that is coming into your network and out of your network. IDS, IPS logs, proxy server logs. Those are very important in conjunction with a firewall because very often in a firewall when you're looking at a source IP address, the source IP address will be the address of the proxy server. Then we need to go to the proxy server logs to see what user or what device actually requested the connection or the circuit to the outside. Directory services servers, that's where we're going to have our user and the group management. Authentication servers and devices, now sometimes those will be the same as our directory services, like our Microsoft Active Directory server. Our domain controllers would be both an authentication server and a directory server, but we could have a non-directory services authentication server, such as a Radius server. And then servers or storage devices that contain legally protected information. These should be your priority. If at all possible, you should capture, analyze, and store logs from as many devices as necessary. But if you do need to prioritize, this would be your prioritization list. So from a security operations perspective, there are 5 primary log management operational processes. The first is to configure the log sources, including log operation, abortion, transmission, and near-term storage. Now what we mean here is log generation, that we're configured to actually generate logs and we're capturing the right information. Abortion is if there's not enough room for the logs anymore, so meaning that logs can't be captured or activity can't be recorded, what does the system do? Does the system terminate activity or does it continue operating? Transmission is how are we transmitting the logs from their original source to your collection point? And then near-term storage, once we've transmitted the logs, where are they staying or where are they being stored? We need to make sure that we secure the data, so that log data, wherever it is, needs to be secure. The process of analyzing the data. The process of initiating appropriate responses to identified events, indicators of compromise, predictors of compromise, or other operational information. And then we also need to manage the long-term storage and destruction of the log data. So when we move it from near-term to long-term, because we're going to archive it, we need to manage the archive, and we needed to manage the destruction process. Now, log management is complicated by several factors, including the number of various log sources, the inconsistent log content, formats, and timestamps, the volumes of log data, how much irrelevant data actually ends up in your logs, the challenge of effective analysis, and getting good trained personnel and resource allocation to really make your log analysis useful. Now, I mentioned earlier SIEM solutions. These are security information and event management solutions that can be used to automate the process, although I want to stress that human intelligence is still required. This is not a set and forget. You're not just going to pull out a report. SIEM products can analyze data from many sources, can identify significant events, can report outcomes, and can send alerts. The SIEM products may also include analysis GUIs, security knowledge bases, incident tracking and reporting capabilities, asset information storage, and correlation capability. They may also offer capabilities to protect confidentiality, integrity, and availability of log data. SIEM products and solutions can be brought in-house on-premise or can be outsourced to a service provider. So let's take a look at data loss layered controls. Firewall rules can restrict outgoing traffic based on specific rules. IDSs and IPSs can detect suspicious traffic based on signatures, behavior, and anomaly. Firewall log analysis can detect suspicious connections based on context and correlation. Data loss prevention solutions, which is what we're going to talk about next, can be used to protect specific data sets from exfiltration via valid transmission channels. The common exit points for data loss include email, FTP, removable drives, and printing. So data loss prevention, often referred to as DLP, tools are designed to detect and prevent data exfiltration. Exfiltration is the unauthorized release or removal of data. DLP technologies can locate and catalog sensitive data. DLP tools monitor target data while in use, in motion, and at rest. Network DLP solutions are installed at network egress points, so outgoing. Often they'll have what's called deep packet inspection technology, so they can really look into a packet and see what's actually being sent out. And then there are endpoint DLP solutions that are host-based. And in a host-based endpoint DLP solution, usually an agent needs to be installed. DLP requires an organization to classify data and to set policies based on classifications and granular rules. In other words, we have to tell the DLP devices what can't go out, or what has to be stopped, or what needs to be reported on. So DLP data identification process can be content-based. It can also be context-based. Identification techniques can be precise or imprecise. Precise means tagged files. So there are specific files that are tagged, and so the DLP device knows those are the ones that they have to watch, monitor, and decision on. So imprecise methods include, but aren't limited to, keywords, patterns, and metadata, which is data about data. So precise or imprecise are the two techniques that can be used to identify files. So once again, we're going to turn to NIST guidance for more information. NIST Special Publication 800-92, Guide to Computer Security Log Management, and Special Publication 800-112, Guide to Protecting the Confidentiality of Personally Identifiable Information, both address using log analysis, log management, and data loss prevention solutions to protect the organization from harm. So that brings us to our Lesson 7.3 review. We talked about log sources, log management, SIEM solutions, data loss controls, data loss prevention, DLP tools and technologies, and NIST resources. If you're not familiar with these, make sure you go back through again until you're very comfortable with these concepts. Let's do our Lesson 7.3 Match the Meaning. We have log, a directory service, SIEM, a signature, an anomaly, exfiltration, egress, and metadata. A couple are new from this lesson, but many are repeats from others. So go ahead, put me on pause, match up the meaning. When you got them down, bring me back and we'll go through them together. A log is a record of events. In our case, this is going to be a computer-generated record of events. A directory service is a database of subjects, objects, and attributes. In earlier lessons, we looked at LDAP, and then we looked at Microsoft's implementation of LDAP, which is Microsoft Active Directory. An SIEM is an automated log management solution. A signature is a known pattern. We see those in our IDSs. We see those in antivirus applications. An anomaly is unusual or unexpected behavior or event. Exfiltration is unauthorized release or removal of data. Now, sometimes exfiltration can also be accidental, but it's still unauthorized release or removal of data. Egress is going to be your exit points. And metadata is data about data. We either get metadata from mining or we get metadata from attributes. So if you look at a Word file, you'll see the author, you'll see the subject, you'll see the date it was created, you'll see the date it was last accessed. That's all data about data. So let's end with our CISSP exam tips. First one is that log data should be prioritized based on system criticality, data sensitivity, and operational functionality. So what we mean here is if it's not possible to log everything, then prioritize based on criticality, sensitivity, and operational functionality. The second is that DLP, that's data loss prevention, tools can monitor target data while in use, in motion, and at rest. And lastly, the egress filtering is often overlooked. Now, while it seems obvious that we would have rules governing both incoming and outgoing, very often organizations will set up stringent rules for what can come in, but leave it wide open for what can go out. It's just as important to be restricting what can leave your organization. So strict ingress, strict egress, deny by default. So thanks for joining me for this lesson, and I look forward to seeing you in the next.